is the Mosley Show, the show that never sleeps. Welcome in a special CFP show. Um, we're on the road. I am coming to you from Beaver Creek, Colorado, from the winter home of the great Dr. Kenneth Cooper and his son, Dr. Tyler Cooper, and their families. And we're having a tremendous time up here. My wife and daughter have headed to the slopes, and they have their skis on. Of course, Tyler Cooper, by the way, a member of the Baylor Board of Regents as we speak, and also a former track athlete at Baylor. And his wife Angie, former Baylor song leader and homecoming queen. All right, so we got all the Baylor bases covered today. Welcome to the Twitter audience. This is Scotty's going to Scotty is threatening to leave us as we get ready for the new year. I'm still in denial about that, fighting that tooth and nail. But Scotty's done an incredible job on this show and been a big part of our success as our growth and all the kinds of things that have happened. So anyway, I'll address that. At some point today. I've got the fire over here. It's not burning as we speak. And earlier today, I was going to have, Scotty was calling it Ski Lodge Mosley. I had the snow and everything in the background, but it was very washed out. And so I had to come over here to a little different part of the room, but glad to be with you guys. And this is the last show of 2025. We'll ring in the new year tonight. I believe we'll be off on tomorrow and Friday. I've got lots of thoughts on the college football playoff. We've got John Calipari's rant on well, it was in response, of course, to Baylor. Well, Scott Drew is upset. Apparently this was the tipping point. Oh my gosh, how will we ever recover from this? It has forced the NCAA to come out with some kind of rule, which I don't even know if that, guarantees anything. Basically just saying that if you sign with an NBA team, you can no longer play in college basketball. I mean, they've already approved James Najee to join the Baylor team, so I don't think you're changing that, but there are some rules. Oh, thank you, by the way, Scotty. Central National Bank, Brian Fonville, all the executives there huddled around wherever you watch your YouTube shows. The Nesbitt family checking us out today. Ascension Providence, love Ascension Providence, that talented team of doctors, and more sponsors and partners coming in, wanting to be a part of the Mosley Show. Mission Golf Cars. Wow, they've been moving a lot of cars. And I want to thank Alan Samuels, as always. Tremendous vehicles, and we'll have some of those ads. But this final day of the new year and heading into New Year's Day, unbelievable deals. I mean, the financing, the trucks. It's the end of year just blowout, and Ted Teague and his crew are doing an incredible job over there. We love talking about them, and the thing is, I mean, every single thing you see us partner with here on the Mosley Show, we're actually good friends with these people, and of course, I may throw out, since it's today's kind of the end of our week, the Schmaltz's trivia question later today. Maybe it'll involve could involve like a Baylor bowl game. Scotty, be thinking today as we kind of do some things on the fly today, like a good Schmaltz's trivia question involving the Baylor, like a good one would be, like Grant Taft's last bowl. If you could give me, I'll tell you what, Scotty, we'll let our folks sound off in the today. Oh, there it is, Trivia Thursday. And we're actually going to do it on Trivia Wednesday. But what was Coach Taft's last bowl game, and who did he beat? in that last bowl game. Yes, I know you could look it up, but we'll make this easy. We love giving away sandwiches to Schmaltz's. And use the YouTube. And if you know the answer, come use the YouTube comments. Or you can, Scotty and I both have Twitter at Matt Mosley. That's Mosley at Matt Mosley on Twitter. You can come at us and you can win 2 free sandwiches to Schmaltz's. I will just tell you, I was there for that fateful day. Grant's last bowl win, and I was there when he beat University of Texas, and that was huge way to go out in his last game in Waco. But last bowl game, where was it? And I'll just give you a little hint. The bowl game that he won is being played today. That bowl game is being played today. And over the years, it has had a long, long time relationship with CBS. In fact, I can remember Pat Summerall doing this game over the years. So get your guesses in, and we'll hook you up with 2 free sandwiches to Schmaltz's. All right, Scotty, we did, and I noticed a lot of people enjoyed, we had that breaking news from Trayvon Diggs. Scotty and I jumped on live to react to that, and we had a lot of folks checking in with us on that. Today, we have the first of our 4 CFP games. Miami will play later today against Ohio State. That is the Cotton Bowl. I'm on Mountain Time. That's about 5:30 kickoff for me. Probably more like 6. And I think our time in Central Texas, about a 7 o'clock kickoff. You never know. They'll tell you false time sometimes. So I could almost see that kickoff being closer to 7:30 to 7. But we get some false times that ESPN puts out this time of year because they want you to join, of course, all their pregame activities as we do this. Scotty, I suppose you and I could have taped some of this and gone about our holiday, but the truth is, Scotty and I like coming to you live, and I've put the set together. This is the same set we use. Wish I could show it to you. It's got, cameras and iPads and everything up, and usually have some lighting. I decided not to mess with that. And this is what we do for our Doomsday podcast. Our final Doomsday podcast of the Cowboys season, of course, will happen. Cowboys and Giants get it on in this last Sunday of the season, and that'll happen in the Meadowlands, and we'll react to it. Scotty, I noticed one of my great longtime Cowboys buddies who covers the Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News now, and we worked at the Morning News together many years ago, has been hacked. His Twitter has been hacked. I'm talking about Calvin Watkins, and he's had to move over to Blue Sky. When I hear Blue Sky, I think of like Willie Nelson. That's one of my favorite blue skies, looking at blue skies. To me, that's one of my favorite Willie songs of all time. Georgia is about as good as it gets, but we were listening to some Willie on the way up here to the ski retreat. A lot of our group will be going out for like one of those kind of huge, nice meals tonight, and I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful scene. As you would expect, your fearless leader, the Mosley Show, I will be holed up watching CFP. Okay, as much as I love being with family and being with friends on New Year's Eve, no, at 6:30 or 7, I am not going to be with everybody having a long dinner in a private room without TVs. All right, that goes against everything I've been brought up to do. But I support them in doing that, and I think that's wonderful. Cherry Johnson, Siegmund James, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Much love to that group of talented lawyers. Scott James, saw him the other day. He's got kids. I think one's headed to Baylor. One is Jonah is over at Baylor, and then Craig Cherry is one of the most talented lawyers in the country, and he and I went to Baylor Law School together. Okay, now he actually finished law school, but I still love all my old law school professors and have great relationships over there. And we've got a new dean, and I think he teaches Civ Pro. Maybe he teaches something while also being the dean. I'm anxious to meet him. And there's somebody over there. This may be the dean with the last name Counselor, which is a great. Think about that for a dean of a law school or a law school professor. Now that right there is a good. So shout out to all my professors who still watch the show. They listen to me on radio. Hopefully they've made the move over to YouTube. All right, Scotty, and I'm going to get Scotty heavily involved. We're going to break down all the CFP. I did want to react to the latest news, though, with Trayvon Diggs. And his time with the Cowboys came to an end yesterday. Cowboys released Trayvon Diggs. I liked that yesterday, Scotty, when we were doing our live report. You put like a big graphic up, and it was kind of our big breaking news. The more we found out, everything about Trayvon Diggs is just sort of bizarre. I mean, even his at-home injury, which again sounds fishy, a TV mounting, the TV pole apparently fell on his head or something. He had a concussion and he was trying to hang a TV. I mean, I usually let other people do those things, but on the rare occasion I've tried to take part in the mounting of a TV. I've almost never. It's been extremely rare that I've fallen down to hit my head. Now I've had a lot of injuries, but mounting of a TV, I've never experienced an injury doing that. But anyway, so you had all that. Now we learn that Trayvon wanted to remain in Washington because he had family and friends there that he wanted to celebrate Christmas with. And the Cowboys took the stance of, we arrive. Now, somebody has been quoted now anonymously from the Cowboys saying, fly out together, we fly home together. Now, again, they could have let him just stay out there. He went through the proper channels. He asked whoever he was going to. I think it was Brian Schottenheimer who ultimately made the decision. No, just like everybody else, you fly home with the team. And he told him, he said, I'm going to have to fly home and immediately catch a flight right back here to DC. This doesn't make any sense. They said, sorry, these are the rules. And you know what? When you're paying somebody, I don't know, about $100 million as what his contract was. When one game check is in the neighborhood of about $418,000, I guess you can probably make the rules. You can say, you come on back with us. He elected to stay, even though he was told to get on the plane. And so again, there's a lot of things that happened that led up to his release, but I wanted to kind of say that. Now, in the end, you had a player, I mean, it's like anything. They got tired of Micah Parsons, but they still ended up getting large compensation for Micah Parsons. Was it enough? Well, we can debate that. Was it a pretty solid return? I think so. Was Kenny Clark some kind of huge answer? No, they made too much of that, and he's fine. He's a good player, but they didn't scheme up the pass rush. The pass rush was not good. Therefore, the secondary was not good, and the whole defense was an absolute mess this season. So, this is where things have ended up. And I just think, it's rare that you see such a meteoric rise. We're talking the most interceptions, it either tied Everson Walls as a rookie or beat it. I mean, it was like, 11 interception. I mean, it was unbelievable what he was like. And then his second year, and then it's like, okay, let's do this massive contract. And then almost immediately, the injuries, the 2023 injury, the missing a ton of games over the past couple of seasons, then all the weirdness that happened this season. And the truth is, he and Micah, who were close, just sort of the Cowboys, I think, got sick of both of their attitudes. But it is amazing to have someone who is that talented and all the pick sixes. And then, of course, Deron Bland came. And I mean, again, I like Diggs personally. I had good conversations with him. He's a different sort of person. He is in a world full of sort of brash, whether it be cornerbacks or wide receivers. Sometimes we can call them divas. He was quiet. He was soft spoken. He was not loud in any of the way he went, other than his play, other than the way he tracked footballs and the way. So Cowboys now move on. They release him, and we'll see what happens with Trayvon Diggs. I mean, like, I saw it kind of reported almost like the Cowboys were doing him a favor and some playoff team could pick him up. I mean, again, the way he's been banged up, the lack of availability that he had to this team, for a team to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 to get maybe two or three games out of him. Give me a break. I mean, I think that would be pretty dumb. But again, if there's a team out there that thinks it's, one player away from being great in the playoffs, that could be a thing. But that doesn't really, to me, pass the smell test. So there is the Trayvon Diggs situation. Now, Scotty, there have been more reaction to Scott Drew bringing in James Najee, the former draft pick. Now the Knicks own the rights to James Najee. There is a thought that maybe we'll see him play against TCU on Saturday. I did want to say, Scotty, just a programming announcement on Tuesday the 6th, I believe, is when we will have Scott Drew join the program. All right. And he'll be here to react to the game Saturday and then get ready for the first home game of the season at the Foster. And we'll react to that. And then we'll get back on a schedule with Nikki, perhaps the following week or perhaps next week. And we'll check in on the Baylor women. Like a lot of you this time of year, I've been spending a lot of time with family. We've had a few days off. We've been kind of in and out, but hey, we're doing a little holiday show. It's the CFP. We can't completely break away when you have a CFP game. Of course, 3 more tomorrow, and right there at 11 o'clock a.m., those Red Raiders will get going against Oregon in the Orange Bowl, and that's going to be exciting. And I think, Scotty, we will later in the program have a sort of a robust discussion, hopefully, about Joey McGuire. I read a story about him, and it reminded me, Joey did not take the UTSA job. When the Tech job came open and they fired Matt Wells, he pursued that heavily. He ends up getting that job. Texas Tech was fully ready to take Jeff Traylor because he was a hot coach at the time at UTSA, and Jeff Traylor could not. He could not. They wanted him to start immediately, and he would have had to abandon a UTSA team that had gotten off to either a 7-0 or 8-0 start. Love the integrity from Jeff Traylor, and obviously he missed out on a huge opportunity. But one of the reasons Joey did not take the UTSA job was because he had an inkling that Matt Rule would be leaving to pursue an NFL job. How could you not have that inkling? Because Matt was interviewing with NFL teams basically after every season. And when the Bears went to the Sugar Bowl and lost in overtime to Oklahoma in 2019, Baylor did indeed lose Matt Rule. So I've got some thoughts on, and so Joey obviously desperately wanted the Baylor job. He did not get it. I think it's a fair conversation to have. What would Baylor have been like had Joey gotten the job in after the 2019 season? How different would it have been? Where would Baylor be right now? I think it's a fair discussion to have, especially in the context of Texas Tech. And I want to get past the, oh, come on, oh, he had all this money, oh, he's had money. I get all that. Okay, we'll address that, but we'll have a discussion about it. Scotty, I do want though now to I want to react to, I mean, the college basketball world continues to, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Whoa, let's send Charlie Baker out to make a clarification of who can play and who's eligible and which G League. And I still don't understand it. Like, if you've signed an NBA contract, I guess, I mean, the G League doesn't count. So I still think some of these G League players that haven't played an NBA game are probably fair game. I mean, you could make the argument that these G Leaguers are, some of these guys are just as talented and have just as much experience as James Najee, but because he was a draft pick, all of college basketball has decided. Mark Few has sounded off. Rick Pitino has sounded off. Bruce Pearl, who doesn't even coach anymore, he's retired. He sounded off. I mean, I find it amusing that all these people who were basically known as somewhat dirty, when I say somewhat, I mean just flat out dirty in college basketball, have now decided, oh my gosh, this is the tipping point. I want to let our folks hear, Scotty, John Calipari's rant from last night. This was the Kentucky basketball coach, and here's what he had to say about foreign players, about America. I thought I think he makes a couple of interesting points. So let's listen to John Calipari's rant, and then let's react to it.
Give you this. Real simple. The rules be's the rules. So if you put your name in the draft, I don't care if you're from Russia and you stay in the draft, you can't play college basketball. Well, that's only for American kids. What? If your name is in that draft and you got drafted, you can't play because that's our rule. Yeah, but that's only for American kids. Okay. Okay, now, here's the next lawsuit. Well, we don't have a say over European players. You do if they're playing in college basketball. So that means you don't have a say over high school kids. So whatever a high school kid does before he comes here, don't you do one thing, because there's a suit. Because what you're saying is, if he's in Europe, we don't have the same rules. What? If he puts his name in the draft, he can't go to college. He left his name in. Well, that's different because he's European. Okay, you're not doing anything with a high school player then. We don't have any jurisdiction over a high school player, do we? We don't. So when they come, you just got to say, all right, now they're here. The other thing, the eligibility, again, real simple. You got 5 years to play 4. If you stay at the same school 4 years, we'll give you a 5th year. If your coach leaves or is fired, you can transfer without penalty. You can do it once, and if the coach is fired or leaves, you could end up doing it twice. But after that, you got to sit out. You transfer, but you got to sit out. Does anybody care what this is doing for 17 and 18-year-old American kids? Do you know what this opportunity has done for them and their families? There aren't going to be any high school kids. Who other than dumb people like me are going to recruit high school kids? I get so much satisfaction out of coaching young kids and seeing them grow and make it and their family life changes that I'm going to keep doing it. But why would anybody else, if you can get NBA players, G League players, guys that are 28 years old, guys from Europe, do we really know their transcript? Do we have somebody over there? Do we really know their birth certificate? Or don't we? And then, yeah, just there's no, look, Tommy Izzo, Mark Few, there are a bunch of us that are just, we got no rules.
Oh, look at Tommy Izzo, Mark Few, those of us who run college basketball. I love it. I mean, a man who was thought of one of the, I mean, he's been hated. He's had to vacate Final Four appearances with Marcus Camby and all the things that are around that recruitment. One of the dirtiest college coaches of all time. And also, I mean, he was kind of hated for being the one who was able to bring in and win with all these freshman players. And he put out huge amounts of NBA players, and that's okay. I kind of like him. I kind of find him funny and interesting. And so, but I some of this stuff is so self-serving. I'm John Calipari. I'm one of the few people who wants to impact and change these kids' lives. Oh, coach, it wasn't about trying to win national titles. It wasn't about you trying to be the highest paid coach in college basketball for the past 20 to 25 years or 30 years, however long you've been doing it. Really? I kind of thought that had something to do with it. In Memphis, was it just about getting these kids? You just wanted to change their families' lives. So I'm fine with what he's done, and I admire his career to a certain extent. But to try to announce that he's been doing this for altruistic reasons, the great John Calipari, Father Flanagan, I'm just out here bringing these young men in. Well, I think, Coach, they've done something for you, and they've helped you huge. Now, I don't totally understand the high school parallel. I know what he's saying, that when these kids are in high school, they're not under your purview. Same thing when these kids are over in Europe and everything. I think he's got a point. The high school thing gets a little confusing because, quite honestly, that we understand how high school basketball has fed college basketball, and it used to occasionally send kids straight to the NBA before the rules were changed. Some of that he's going off on a bit of a tangent that I don't think is even that great of a parallel. He has a point on American players being treated different. It's like, oh wait, this guy's from West Africa, this guy's a European player. We really have, not much. We don't exactly know how to address that. I used to think that if somebody played at a certain level like Luka, I mean, again, what's crazy now is like a guy like Enes Kanter, who had a long NBA career and wasn't allowed to play at, I think it was Kentucky, or wherever Enes Kanter went, because he had once taken $30,000 from like his pro team, or he had made a total of $30,000 and he was ruled ineligible. Well, again, the world has changed since then. The NCAA has gotten beaten up in lawsuits. They're scared to deny anything. They were scared probably yesterday coming out and giving that clarification. Now, Scotty, join me for a second here. Scotty's he's back in he may have made his way across the room. He's back in the beautiful studios of Rogue Media Network, where he spent a lot of time over the last couple of years. Scotty, like the clarification from the NCAA yesterday was basically, once you sign with an NBA team, you can't play college basketball. Now that's fine, but now did the guy, did Najee signing? I mean, they have his draft rights. I guess the delineation there, Scotty, is the fact that he never played with the Knicks, or he never played for the team he was originally drafted by, And so he never truly, he signed with their summer league team. I mean, I'm sure he had to sign some waiver, like for injury or whatever would happen during summer league, but he never did a formal two-way contract or a full contract. So I guess that's the clarification there, right?
Yeah, I kind of laughed as you were talking through that because, yeah, it's like a NBA contract, unless it's the summer league. Like they keep painting themselves into a corner here, and I get it, but it's a mess, Mosley. There's gonna be some kind of reckoning this summer. Calipari, whether you like him or dislike him for all the hypocrisy and some of the things you pointed out, man. He's right. He's right. They've got to clarify this stuff, man, because it's a mess.
Do we like? It's so far down the road that even, and I'm going to include football in this conversation for a second, Scotty. I don't like this thought of getting guardrails. Think about how these schools are basically laughing. And even the ADs, even Mac, when I had him on all the time in the past, they thought this rev share thing was going to be the Baylors of the world that don't quite have the resources of the Michigans and Ohio State and Texas A&M. They thought this was going to provide some semblance of an equal playing field because Baylor could decide what percentages, and that rev share, it was almost like a salary cap. Scotty, they just laugh at this.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that we spent so much time. Think about Smokey and those guys and us and everybody who tried to get our minds around a new world of like a commission. Oh, let's have a commission. Oh, let's go hire a guy from Major League Baseball. This will be interesting. Let's go get it. And they'll have to be a clearinghouse for all these deals. Scotty, within 30 minutes of all that stuff happening, a lot of schools had figured out. And that's one of the things Baylor, you have to admire about what Scott's done here. For once, Baylor in football, and you can fault whoever you want, Aranda, Mac Rhodes, fault whoever you want. Baylor was not ready for all that. And Texas Tech went from like 0 to 90. Texas Tech says, all right, Cody, because Cody Campbell, the more I've read about him, Scotty, he used to be somebody that everybody tried to keep at arm's length, and he did not like Kirby Hocutt. He did not like the Board of Regents at Texas Tech, and he was just out there, billionaire, former Texas Tech player, screaming at everybody. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. He was on the message boards, just like a lot of our friends, Scotty, just ripping everybody. And suddenly, Kent Hance, longtime politician, said, you know what, guys? He convinced the president of Tech and the Texas Tech system and the governor, who I guess because it's a state school, he convinced those people, you know what? You'd rather have this guy pissing and moaning from the inside than doing it from the outside. And they brought him into the hen house. Sometimes it's scary when you do that. But in Texas Tech case, by letting Cody Campbell suddenly have a huge voice, other than just being a rich guy screaming and stuff, he changed their program forever. You know, Baylor, I mean, I got to be careful. I'm right now where I sit, I'm in a Baylor board member's home in Colorado. But, you know, Baylor needs to, I mean, they need to let those people have more of a say. You have huge, big time, awesome, accomplished people in that room, and they need to start having more of a say. Baylor for too long has said, you know what, thank you, we'll have you vote on things, but our AD and our president will make all these decisions for you, and we'll come let you kind of think where we're leaning. And hey, by the way, Tech and other places, A&M, President Livingstone and others at Baylor are very fortunate to have a board that doesn't behave like some of these other boards, right? Because when a president of Texas A&M, doesn't matter if he's a 4-star general, if they think, oh, he's getting too woke, quote woke, and I'm not trying to get a political discussion, I'm just saying what happens. This is the reality of it. Oh, he didn't fire this professor about this or that. He's out. He's out the next day. Now, I'm not saying that's all good. There's a downside to that. But I think it's time for Baylor, and I think Doug McNamee, in the early days of Doug McNamee's reign as Baylor athletic director, this is becoming a more, Scotty, how would I say that? Like a bringing more people into the decision making and all that kind of stuff. Now, you probably can have too many people and all that kind of stuff, but I think Doug McNamee's actually listening, and I think there's some good things happening. Okay, Scotty, now let me ask you this. We'll take a break here in a second. Then let's do a major, huge blowout Campus Confidential, like where we hit all these games, and then there's a couple more things I wanted to deal with. I thought Lanning. Maybe we can do this here, Scotty. I thought Lanning, and then we'll take a break and we'll do all our. We'll wait. We can wait because that's more of a college football thing. I just thought Lanning had an interesting point about a couple of different things about like how to treat the calendar, but he also had another thing about like the NFL. Now again, somebody's going to have to put Lanning in his place and describe to him that the NFL does not report to anybody. But what he says is right. Like we need to get back to a place in this country, and it's hard to do now that we're on down this road, but that where we at least respect different things. Friday night football, Saturday college football. Now the NFL, thank goodness, years and years ago, there was some law, and it goes back to like the 1960s. There was a TV law or something put on the books in the NFL that makes them wait until December, whatever it is, 15th or 20th, to have Saturday games in the NFL. All right. That rule has protected college football for many, many years. But Lanning and others, Scotty, have some ideas about how to end the college season on January 1st, then go into the portal on January 2nd. I find some of this valid. I find some of this pretty interesting, and we'll work through it. Okay, Scotty, before we move on, though, any other college basketball, like since Baylor apparently is single-handedly destroying college basketball, nobody else, everything was just great and hunky-dory and everything. I did have this discussion, Scotty, that I wanted to bounce off of you, because somebody was asking me, what do you think about what Scott Drew's doing? What do you think about Baylor basketball? And that discussion has been coming up. I still think there's a discussion to be had on why was Kelvin Sampson, Baylor wins a national title, and by the way, Houston was in that Final Four in 2021. The next season, Baylor was again a number 1 seed. So let's not, anybody who tries to say Baylor fell off the map after that national championship, that's not accurate. The following season, they were like a number 2 or 3 seed, right? They did not like nosedive, but something has happened. Like something's not quite like with the program that was that awesome. And I don't know if it's, they don't have enough NIL money. I don't know if it's decision making. What I'm trying to wonder is why is Kelvin Sampson, why has he kind of run laps around everybody in this conference, including Bill Self, including the great Bill Self? I do not want to make this about just about Scott Drew, but why is the University of Houston, somebody goes, well, maybe they have more NIL money. Huh? You think the University of Houston is down there just outpacing everybody in NIL money? Leave Baylor out of it for a minute. You think Villanova, Gonzaga, all the great, unbelievable basketball programs. You think Houston is just beating the dog out of them in NIL? So anyway, Scotty, I've had some random thoughts about why Baylor feels like it's been on a little bit of a downturn in a sport we've been great in. And why are all these other schools like Arizona, BYU, is it just straight up money?
Yes. Yes, in my
I don't
opinion,
think it's
yes.
about that with. I don't think it's about that with Houston. I don't think it's fair to say it's
Baylor
about.
doesn't have a Tillman Fertitta. Like we don't have that guy. And what I resonate with, Matt, is I don't understand. I think Kelvin Sampson's an all-time great coach, but I don't understand why he is kind of now seen as the czar of the Big 12 when you've got multiple other coaches in the conference like Bill Self and Scott Drew who've won national titles at their current school. So I don't understand the deference to Sampson as like the best coach in the league. But as far as the money goes, Matt, yes, BYU has more money than Baylor by a lot at the moment. They're paying AJ DeBonsa like $7 million this year. Baylor can't do that right now with any basketball players, right? So BYU, it's definitely the money. Arizona, it's probably the money. Baylor was hot on Koa Pete for a little while. I think he probably got a bigger check to go play for the Wildcats. And Houston, I think Tillman Fertitta can write a bigger check than anybody can for Baylor. I do. And I think the other thing, Matt, and I want to give Coach Drew credit, right? If you are surveying Baylor football, Baylor women's basketball, and Baylor men's basketball, who've all been championship caliber programs at some point in the last 5 or 6 years, men's basketball is still close to that level, certainly closer than football and closer than women's basketball too. So Coach Drew is still doing it. I think Coach Drew, and he probably told us this in August when we did that first interview with him. Coach Drew knows he missed in the portal last year, right? You missed on Jeremy Roach. You did. You missed building a team around Langston Love, who couldn't get healthy. And then going into this season, you thought you had a point guard squared away who's an all-conference caliber player. And what happened, Matt? BYU paid him $2 million more. So he left, right? So I think Drew has had a couple of misses in the portal, and I'm not necessarily saying that is like an egregious talent evaluation problem with Scott Drew. I think there's been some misses for the last couple years. I think Baylor basketball, like everything else, is figuring out what kind of resources do we have, who can we actually go get in a portal, who's actually of value. I think he got a huge win with this James Najee thing. I think that's good. That's a tremendous bounce back as far as how to use the current rules and things. Okay.
We'll see.
And I think this group he's brought in, completely building this roster from zero from last season, he's done a really nice job. But I talked about it Monday. What Coach Drew needs to continue to develop that he can tout over maybe anybody in the conference except like a Bill Self is if you come play for me, and if you give me more than a season, if you can commit to a 2-3 year process at Baylor, I can prepare you to play in the NBA better than almost any coach in America. He's got the track record now that says he can do that. He's got the draft capital in the last 5-6 years that says he can do that. He's got the NBA players' sons in this class and the next class that clearly also believe that. A Cameron Carr, who was a projected late second round pick, maybe vaulting himself into the lottery this season, is going to continue to add to that reputation for Scott Drew. He's got to find a way to retain some of this developmental talent and go snag a couple studs out of the portal every year. And I think he's really close to solving that puzzle. And I think as soon as he figures out how to do that at Baylor, we're going to be right up there with those other guys again. I think so. I'm an optimist, right? I believe in
Yeah, I just think I appreciate that optimism. I don't think they're close. I think they're like, it's like, I think what Tech is doing And I don't think it's fair to say Kelvin. I don't think that's Tillman. I think these two one and dones, they might have just finally brought in some one and dones this year. Those kids are awesome. So I'll totally give you that. And I'm sure that to get those guys, but before that, and this goes back to when this goes back to before he even was in that Final Four in 2021. They brought in freshmen and developed them, and then occasionally would bring in a guy like Uzan, who I didn't even think was good at Oklahoma, and then he becomes great for Houston. They bring in Cryer from Baylor, who I know a lot of Baylor people can't stand him, but he was a tremendous fit for Houston. He was exactly what they needed because he's a knockdown, great three-point shooter.
By the way, Scott Drew's doing that right now with Skillings. Right?
They're not even. Skillings is so far off from Cryer.
I'm not saying he's that level of
planet. Yeah.
But
as a player,
finding guys that maybe were one thing at one school, and you find a way to elevate them to a better play. I mean, Skillings never played this well at Cincinnati.
No, but again, hear me on this. The huge difference is over all this 7-year period where Sampson's been unbelievable at Houston, for the most part, it's with kids. It's what Scott used to be able to do and what's hard to do now. For the most part, it was all done with homegrown freshman kids who he developed, and he stayed there. Unfortunately, it was. I mean, I loved Yves Missi, but he was so good, so fast. They didn't think he was going to be an NBA guy immediately, and he became that. All those other one and done guys. So while Baylor, and those are great, I love the experience of those guys. Believe me, it's just hard. It's just extremely hard. And what Houston was doing during that time was letting guys. Who was that big man? From last year's. I mean, like, what's his name? How do you say it? Because Kelvin says it funny. Like, their big man. Their 6'8" guy. He was there forever. He was there for 5 years. And they just had players. And boy, Baylor used to be able to do that. And in this environment, it's almost impossible to do it. Think about how Baylor used to freaking. I guess it's just, yeah. But to your point, I will say, even Sampson is having to evolve. And he, for the first time, he had never had a one and done that I can recall. And he's got 2 of those guys on this year's roster. So he has evolved. But it's unfortunate. Last year's team and even this year's team, and I'm with you. I'm holding out hope. Probably not as much hope as you have. I don't think Baylor's even like the top teams in this conference: Arizona, Houston, Tech, BYU. Who am I? Iowa State. Okay, I just named the teams. I think Baylor's not even close right now. They're not even. They're not within, like. I feel like those games, and you know what? We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out in the next couple of weeks, right? Like, I hope to goodness I'm wrong, and that they take down Iowa State. But in terms of the team, the level of play, and the way these teams are built right now, I don't think Baylor's on the same planet with those programs, and I find that very unfortunate. But what I hope is what you're saying is true, that Najee somehow is a great correction and can wipe things out in the paint. But I'm just saying that's asking a ton.
I mean, let's be honest. That's by far been Baylor's biggest weakness, is inside defense this year against good teams. You hope he can play enough minutes to help correct that. And by the way, like, I'm going to be an optimist here. I'm going to be a Baylor fan here. Cam Carr can score with any other player in this conference. He can. You've got an alpha. Cam Carr can take over a game and keep you in a game. And if Tunde Yesufu figures out who he is, you've got 2 guys that can potentially do that. And I'm not saying that they're Koa Pete or AJ DeBonsa or those Houston kids. I'm not I'm not putting them on that level, but I think Cam Carr in particular can score 30 on any given night against any opponent. And so when you've got that guy, and if you can protect the rim, I kind of like Scott Drew's chances to outcoach anybody. We've seen Baylor teams that we thought were surefire top of the Big 12 struggle, and we've seen Baylor teams come out of nowhere and be surprisingly good. I mean, Drew's been around long enough. We've had all of that. So, but I think he's figuring it out, Matt. You're talking about adjusting the approach, the roster, et cetera. I think Drew's telling you exactly what he's doing by signing Michael Perez and signing Andre Iguodala II in this last class. Those are guys that need to be here 3 years to go to the NBA.
Now good. That's a good point in that the people that are tired of these one and dones, there is no one and done in the 2026 recruiting class. In fact, there's only like one player. And then the kid on the way is likely not a one and done. Wait, which NBA player's son is that? Oh, Monty's kid.
Williams.
I don't think he's a one and done. And so I think those are valid points. I think I was hoping this team would be built more like, anyway, it's an interesting team. I think the ceiling for this team is I think the ceiling for this year's team is being the fifth or sixth best team in the conference. That's the highest this thing could get. And maybe that's okay. That's okay. I'm just saying, but that's not what we.
No.
That's a far cry. From 2019 to about 2023, this thing was on fire, and unfortunately, freaking Houston in, and again, it's just Houston has run circles around everybody, and it's an unbelievable thing, and it's an interesting case study. Okay, Scotty, I love this conversation. Let's keep it going, but we got major CFP, and we've got a game tonight, and then we've got 3 more games tomorrow, and we need to look at the bracket. I'm going to give you the latest from an injury standpoint and from a betting advice standpoint as we do Mosley on the road, Ski Lodge Mosley, as Scotty calls it. We'll continue that next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. If you receive a call from someone claiming to be from a company, don't give them your personal information, ever. Unless you know them personally, hang up and call the company back on a verified number.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
It's the Wrap Up the Year sales event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive home a new Ram 1500 Lone Star with 0% for 72 months or 3.9 for 72 months. Plus 10% below MSRP and get 2,000 holiday select inventory cash. Need more power? Check out the selection of new Ram 2500s, all backed by our 10-year 100,000-mile powertrain warranty and no payments for 90 days. Hurry to Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
At Covers and All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and organichemp.com.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
At Mapiful, we believe in celebrating your journey. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia. Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Homes where the heart is. We aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
WhyPersonalLoans.com. Request a loan anytime. Our partners can offer loans up to $35,000 with varying rates and terms. Review your loan offer with no obligation and decide what works for you. Visit PersonalLoans.com today.
This is what $500,000 in a duffel bag looks like. Actually not real. That's because it's actually prop money. It looks realistic from a distance, but up close you can see it says for motion picture purposes. Visit PropMoney.com today to get your money seen or money shot right with Prop Money Inc.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
VivoSun's mission is to empower growers with stylish and effective products, making indoor growing accessible and enjoyable for everyone. Visit vivosun.com today and get started making growing plants and vegetables easy and automatic.
It is the Mosley Show coming to you from Colorado and getting you ready for the CFP. And Scotty Swingler with me. Scotty threatening to leave us in 2026. I reserve the right to, and I'll be excited. Scotty's got big things on the horizon, but I reserve the right to bring him back at any moment. But appreciative of the great job he has done here on the Mosley Show and other shows. There's another show on Rogue Media Network called the Pete Souza Show. Scotty has played a large role in that show's success. We want to encourage all of you who've been on Twitter today as we do our premium Twitter go over and sign up for the YouTube, and we'd love to have you over there. I want to go over some of these games, and I want to do what we call Campus Confidential. And Scotty, I think it would be appropriate to just show our folks one of the great logos in all of YouTube shows. It is time for Campus Confidential. Oh, there it is. Look at that logo. I mean, that's like a royal crest. That's bigger and better than anything the royal family does. We've come out of the shoot today. I mean, this was supposed to be kind of an abbreviated show. And as Scotty knows, I don't always follow through on that. I often will say, we're going to finish a little early today, and then we don't finish early at all. In fact, we go over. And this may be one of those days. We'll come up a little short because it is New Year's Eve. And I hope Scotty I hope he's just going to blow it out tonight. All right. I mean, we've all experienced interesting adversity and things in 2025. And so we all ought to have a good time tonight and then look forward to an extremely prosperous and fun 2026. In fact, I picked up several cans of black-eyed peas, greens, all the things you eat on and last night we had some risotto. All right. One of our house guests here made some risotto, and they asked us, Scotty, to pick up some white wine, some cooking wine. And you know me, I'm way too Baptist to be, kind of right there in the grocery store carrying around a bottle of wine. So that was a little bit iffy. But anyway, got some real cheap wine and poured that in. Don't worry, Mom, if you're watching, the alcohol was cooked right out of there. I don't think there was any left. So that was good. But some risotto with some green beans and some, I don't know. What else do we, some quail. Had some quail and there's some other sides that are escaping my memory right now. All right, it is the Mosley Show, the last one of 2025. Tonight's game, as we do Campus Confidential, features Ohio State and Miami. And Ohio State is favored by 9.5. This game is happening in Arlington, Texas. This is the Cotton Bowl. This is a real, I'm on Mountain Time. They're listing this thing as a 5:30 start Mountain Time. Scotty, that would put it 6:30 your time. That seems iffy to me. I think that's an ESPN time, fake time they're giving. So I would say this kickoff is probably a little closer to 7 o'clock tonight. I would probably, if I were going to pick this game, and Scotty, each of these games we'll go over. I want you to give your pick too. If I were a betting man, I would say go ahead and take Ohio State to cover. Now, the only thing that bothers me about that is, and I know it was windy, and I think it was a fluke. I'm not saying A&M losing was a fluke. I'm just saying that both offenses performing that poorly and the lack of points, I just think I don't like using that game. The thing I'll say though, whether it be Messidor or Reuben Bain Jr., the defensive ends for Miami are for real. These guys now, here's what Ohio State has though. They're fine at running back, but Carnell Tate has become scary. We made this whole season it was going to be about Jeremiah Smith and all that, and he's great. He may put up 200 or 300 yards tonight, but this Carnell Tate is he's extremely impressive. Now, the reason Julian Sayin, the young quarterback for Ohio State, he completes like 78% of his passes. Well, it's mainly because they have a quick throw game, and he's not really throwing the ball downfield. He lets his receivers make plays, after the catch. The thing is, Carson Beck on the other side for Miami. In those wins they had, those 4 wins before the college football playoff game against A&M, he was completing like 80% of his passes. Malachi Toney is an electric player. In fact, you could make the argument from a speed standpoint, an electric playmaking standpoint, he may be the biggest playmaker in this game tonight. I just don't think that, and I like that that running back who was really good against the Aggies. What is Mike? His dad was Big Mike. What is it? Oh, Mike. It's Mike Jr. Anyway, I love this back. I think he's number 4. He's a load. He's got good balance. He's elusive. I like the running back from Miami. It's just I would say, I'm just thinking about projecting this game. Yeah, I've got to take Ohio State to cover the 9.5. Scotty, what are you thinking going into this? So I'll give you a little. I'll say. I think both these teams are going to score a little bit. I'm going to take Ohio State 34-17 in this game.
I don't think Ohio State gets to 34. I think we saw Ohio State very vulnerable against a great defensive front in the Big Ten Championship when they took on Indiana. I would not compare Miami to Indiana. You know how I feel about Kurt Cignetti and my adopted Hoosiers. But Miami's defense really took over that game against Texas A&M in a big way. And you were arguing about the Ohio State backs. Matt, the best player on either offense in that game in College Station was Mark Fletcher Jr., the running back for Miami. Looked tremendous. He was the only guy. That's what I was just
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, the only guy on either side that could pick up yards. And so I like Miami to cover here. I don't know that I would pick them to win outright. I still don't trust Carson Beck in a big game to not turn the ball over. Ohio State is the number 2 seed for a reason. They've been near perfect, but I think they're vulnerable here. And Matt, I cannot get over the fact that these teams that got the first round buys last year went 0-4. Nobody saw that coming last year. So a couple of these higher seeds, I would think 1 or 2 of them are going to lose. I think it would be very strange that they would be 0-4 last season and 4-0 this season. And I'm wondering, I know Miami's the lowest seed left, but I'm wondering if Ohio State isn't one of the most vulnerable here. I'm wondering. So I think I'll take Miami to cover and probably Ohio State to win by a touchdown.
Miami to cover the 9.5 in Ohio. I hope that happens because I'd like to see a good game. All right, Scotty, stay with me. Let's move to the Texas Tech. Let's move to Texas Tech, Oregon. I've got a couple of nuggets to bounce off of you. One I find interesting is, and I dream of Baylor doing this again, and they did it, by the way, when Joey was around. His favorite, his old take 3 that he used to talk about, and that was the takeaways. In 10 games this season, Texas Tech has had at least 2 takeaways. In 10 different games.
Wow.
At least 2 takeaways. Now, I want to give you a negative Tech stat, since we brag on how unbelievable they are on the defensive line and they've bought this wonderful team and everything. I want to give you one real bad offensive stat for Texas Tech. 98th in college football in red zone TD rate. Red zone TD rate. That's not a nothing stat. I mean, you get in the red zone, you need to be scoring touchdowns. Now they've been able to overcome it because they win these games 29-7, and then they'll kick a ton of field goals and all that kind of stuff. But in one of these huge games, like the Orange Bowl and the CFP against Oregon, you can't be in there settling for a lot of field goals. This team has trouble in the red zone. Now, Scotty, two more things, or one big thing. Okay, here's the good and bad of what you just said. Rust over rest. 4 teams that had to bye losing. I think that is interesting, and I think Texas Tech fans have to feel extremely worried about the fact that they haven't played in 3.5 weeks. That's a bit of a problem, and you can only simulate so much in these practices. So it's been a long time. That said, let me give you the upside of this. For the first time, like even during the season and leading up to the Big 12 championship game, during the week, Baron Morton was not practicing. I think he practiced once before the Big 12 championship game, and he was in a boot a lot of the time, and he had that hairline fracture in his fibula, and he was playing on it at about 70%. In these practices, he's been going full go. And for the first time in a long time, he's been able to practice and move and do everything. And so we talk so much about this. I mean, Scotty, how weird is that? That in this, the one thing we've known Tech all these years, through the good and through the bad, is high scoring, great offenses. And this is a fine offense. Let's not act like they don't score a lot. Baron Morton's thrown for a ton of yards. This is a fine offense. But this is a team that is driven and led by its defense. One more, Scotty. I know you love all these nuggets. One more that just jumped back into my mind. They have only played against 2, count them, 2 top 40 offenses this season. That would be Utah and BYU. 2 top 40 offenses. So while they've been great on defense, we should point out that they have not exactly been facing great offenses throughout this wonderful run. All right, I'll turn it over to you, sir. How do you see this one playing out, and what is your prediction? And I'll give you the 2.5. Oregon is favored by 2.5.
And it's moved to 2.5. It opened at 1.5. So that means there's some smart money coming in on Oregon. Let me give you pros and cons for Oregon, and then I'll tell you who I'm taking. Pro for Oregon, they were the number 1 overall seed last year. They got beat on a bye. So I have no doubt that between the ears, mentally and emotionally, Dan Lanning is going to have this team ready to run through a wall. They are not taking this game for granted. They are not going to overlook Texas Tech. They are going to come in ready to play. Let me give you the negative, Matt. And I know I was watching a toddler while you were talking yesterday, but I thought you made a salient point about Texas A&M's offense struggling with Colin Klein calling plays while preparing to be the head coach at Kansas State. Dan Lanning's offensive and defensive coordinators are becoming head coaches at Power 4 programs. So if it was a negative in your mind for Colin Klein, call it a double negative for this Oregon team. Both your play callers have their attention split as they're becoming head coaches elsewhere. I think that works in Texas Tech's favor. Here's the other thing I think about Texas Tech. If this game is close, and I think it will be, I think it's going to be an outstanding football game. Vegas thinks it will be close as well. The 2 best players in this game play for Texas Tech. It's Jacob Rodriguez and it's David Bailey. Those are both going to be first-round draft picks in the NFL. They're the 2 best players in this game. I really struggle to see. By the way, one more thought about Oregon. Matt, who was Oregon's best win this season after Indiana went to Outson and handled business?
Over USC?
USC, who just lost to Big 12 mediocre town TCU, okay? All due respect to Sonny Dykes, that was not one of the better teams in the Big 12 this season. So for all of the naysayers that Tech hasn't played, and this is not you, but I hear them on national media, Tech hadn't played anybody. What has Tech proven against the Big 12? Well, I think more than what Oregon's proven, actually, because Oregon did not have to play Ohio State. They got beat soundly by Indiana, and so I'm not convinced Oregon is that hot either. I'm going to take Texas Tech to win outright. I think it will be thrilling. I don't think it will be easy, but I think Jacob Rodriguez forces a turnover, as you pointed out, and I don't think Oregon has the offense to move the ball against an elite defensive front that was proven against Indiana. I think I'm doubling down on it here in this game.
I think you have identified a new segment as well. Mosley's salient point of the day.
I love it.
I know, but your point is well taken on the two coordinators having had some of their time divided. By the way, Ohio State, that game against Miami, Brian Hartline
Yep.
is headed to USF. And so his time has been divided as well. All right, Scotty, let's move on to
Who are you picking? You didn't make your pick.
Oh. I'm afraid I got to go with a team that's played more recently, even though it was only against AMU, and I believe the Oregon Ducks. I think the Oregon Ducks will win this ball game, and they will cover the 2.5, and they will win, which is what would happen with a win. All right, let's look at Alabama as. Man, isn't that? I mean, to me, that's one of the more fascinating things you could see is that Vegas has Indiana in the Rose Bowl favored by 7 over mighty Alabama. I looked at a thing, Scotty, before we came on. People say Mosley actually looks at things. Occasionally, I do. And Scotty, the 12 teams, it did like their percentages to make it to the national title game, their percentages to win it all. It's about what you would think. Ohio State, 28% chance to win the title. Indiana, 25%. Next, by the way, is Texas Tech at 18%. Who do you think has partially because of the Tech's route to that game, who do you think has the least chance of winning a national title by all of ESPN's computers and rankings and everything?
Of the 8 left?
Yes.
I would say Ole Miss, but I think you're going to say Alabama just based on how you're setting up the question.
Leading setup, wasn't it? 0.9% to win it all. That would be the Alabama Crimson.
Wow.
Is that not amazing?
It is.
And, you would think some of these other teams would be like Oregon. Oregon, for some reason, it jumps from Tech at 18% down to like Oregon at 8%. And even Miami has better chances, according to this, than Alabama. Okay, let's look at that game for a second, though. Indiana and Alabama. Indiana has had a long time off, just like we were just talking about. They lost a really good defensive player. Number 92, their pass rusher, who gave Ohio State fits in the Big Ten title game, as I recall. He got hurt in some weird post-game celebration. I love that guy. I love that player. I really do. I just think in this game, though, while I would worry about the long layoff, Signetti has been mad. Signetti has not particularly loved some of their practices leading up to this game. I think a mad, angry Signetti is a great Signetti. And I think Signetti, every time he goes out, he wants to send a message because he knows deep down most of America still doesn't think this team belongs. And we can look at the rankings and go, well, they absolutely belong, but against and he also knows that as great a season as they had, a loss to Alabama would bring all that stuff back. Well, they weren't truly the team they were billed to be. So I do think Signetti has them fired up. And I think in the end, they pull away and they win this game by a couple of touchdowns. Give me Indiana 28, Alabama 14.
Spot on. And I think you might have, at least in my mind, buried the lead, which is Curt Cignetti is not only mad for all the reasons you just said and motivated. Curt Cignetti's motivated personally in this one, Matt, because of his history at Alabama. He was the Saban assistant who wasn't promoted as quickly as some others. He was the Saban assistant who had to go kind of take the small school head coaching route to get to where he is today at Indiana, unlike a Kirby Smart, unlike Dabo Swinney, unlike others who coached under Nick Saban. I think he is hyper motivated here, not only because it's a big stakes #1 seed playoff game, but specifically because it's against Alabama. He is going to pull all of the stops to say, I'm the guy that was overlooked who shouldn't have been. What I love about Curt Cignetti, he reminds me, I'm going to make a weird comparison here, but I think you'll go with it here. He reminds me of Michael Jordan, Matt. Nobody in America questions anymore that he's an excellent head coach, but he is going to hold on to the ones that questioned him along the way. He is going to hold on to the people who doubted him along the way, and he is going to use that as fuel for his competitive fire in the same way Michael Jordan did for his entire career, right? Held on to every comment, every slight, used it to fuel him. I think Cignetti's got the same DNA. So you're right. Indiana's going to win this by multiple touchdowns. I don't think it's particularly close, and I think we really see a masterclass from Cignetti in particular in how he handles this one.
All right, we agree on that one. We disagree on Tech and Oregon. We disagree on the 9.5 being covered by Ohio State. So two out of the three, from a betting standpoint, you and I disagree. So the public, all the folks watching us, can take whatever they want to take from that. The final game is the Sugar Bowl, and that is Ole Miss and Georgia getting it on in a rematch. Now, I think there's a lot of interesting things at play here. In one hand, for some reason, I kind of trust Stockton more than I trust Chambliss. Maybe because he's been in more big games. Maybe it's because he's actually been in the college football playoff before. Now you can say, well, so is Chambliss now. But Chambliss, does it totally count when you open with Tulane and you have another blowout over Tulane? So I trust Stockton more than I trust Chambliss. That said, I love Chambliss. I love the excitement. I love what he can do. I like how creative he is. I think it's a bigger play offense. I think, though, we got to go back to something we keep bringing up. It's like Georgia, to me, not only do they have more experience, but I kind of like where their staff is right now more than Ole Miss is. Ole Miss has people coming and going. They got like 6 staffers in this game that are already on the LSU coaching staff. I know Golding has a lot to prove here, but I've already heard rumors, and I even saw one report of tampering has happened with the LSU coaches trying to convince some of the Ole Miss players. Some of these Ole Miss players are very resentful toward Lane Kiffin right now because they were left in this thing. One thing I brought up yesterday, Scotty, that I think is somewhat interesting is the fact that what would the line be on this game if Lane Kiffin were coaching for Ole Miss at the Sugar Bowl at a neutral site? Some people would say it's not. It's more geared toward Georgia, but again, you'll get plenty of Ole Miss folks in there. Yeah, you'll get plenty. I was just trying to think of that atmosphere, what it'll be like. I'm leaning to to complete that thought for once. The 6.5, Scotty, with Lane Kiffin coaching Ole Miss, what would the line have been? And I think the line would have been Georgia by 3. The line without Kiffin coaching at Ole Miss is is Georgia favored by 6.5. Now I want to see, Scotty, if you agree with that or not. But I also want to say Kiffin can't help himself, and Kiffin is apparently going to be at this game. And there were reports earlier today that, or maybe it was last night, that Kiffin was trying to get himself onto the broadcast, like do an interview during the game, and that ESPN was not being receptive to that, which is hilarious.
My goodness.
That is happening. For some of those reasons, and the fact that, again, this may not be fair, but if you're asking me what program and what coach do I trust the most in a huge game, in a CFP, it's absolutely going to be Kirby and Georgia. Yeah. And so give me Georgia to win, and give me Georgia to cover the 6.5.
Yeah, for me, Matt, this is a head versus heart pick. Because mentally, every edge goes to Georgia. Everything you just talked about. I think the roster, but not by a lot, but by a little bit. Experience, head coach, certainly. You got a guy that's coached in a ton of these kind of games versus a guy who's coaching this team for the second time as the head coach. But man, I'm going to push back on your first take. I think Chambliss is the best player in this game. And if there's going to be a shot for an upset here, it's going to be because Trinidad Chambliss, smile for your photo there. It's going to be because Trinidad Chambliss balls and plays well, and that can happen. Matt, I've never trusted this Georgia team this season. They've never overwhelmed me with being good, and yet they keep winning. They keep winning. They keep finding a way. They've already beaten this Ole Miss team once. I want to pick Ole Miss, but my better thinking and better judgment will not allow me. So I will take Georgia, and I think I will probably take them to cover as well. If this line were 7.5, I might be tempted to go Ole Miss, but I think 6.5, I gotta take Georgia as well. But I think if I were ranking teams on upset alert, I am most confident Indiana will win. I am least confident Ohio State will win. I think I'd put Georgia next on my upset alert here. I think I've got Ohio State on upset alert, and I've probably got Georgia on second upset alert, even more so than like Texas Tech losing. So I'm not very confident in this one, but I'll take Georgia to cover also.
All right. I also had an interesting conversation last night, Scotty, on if Baylor, for instance, has, because these guys decommitted, does Baylor have all this extra portal money? And because we don't really know, there's a decent chance Dave Aranda won't be back in 2027. Is it wasteful to throw a whole bunch of money at a class that's not going to be around? But the point was then made, well, you can't really keep that money. It's not like you can keep it for 2027. So yeah. I guess you've got to go spend all the portal money, even knowing this thing could look completely different in 2027. It's just interesting to kind of think of all that and to think of what the future looks like.
By the way, we as Baylor Bears have seen both Georgia and Ole Miss play at the Sugar Bowl, and Georgia performed a lot better. So there you go. Pick Georgia.
Remember that, though, Ole Miss was going down there and they were about to score, and it would have given them like a 10-point lead, or, that it was kind of getting to be a scary point of that game. And who was our guy that had like a 100-yard interception return in that game? Like a 98 or 102.
I remember the play. I'm struggling to remember the DB.
I cannot believe, because I love that kid. He transferred to Arkansas, I think.
Was it Snacks?
No, it wasn't Snacks. It was he played
Al Walcott.
I loved Al Walcott.
I just looked it up. There you go.
And Al Walcott went racing down the.
Oh man, you know what I forgot about that game? Sorry, I looked up who got the pick and I saw something else I had forgotten. I had remembered that Matt Corral had gotten hurt early in that game, the Ole Miss quarterback. I forgot the man who replaced him and was the backup quarterback who played most of that game. Do you remember who that was?
Corral or whatever, Matt.
That's who got hurt. Do you remember who replaced him and threw that pick six?
Jackson Dart?
No. Illinois star quarterback Luke Altmaier.
Interesting.
Did not remember that.
Altmaier, okay, and
Because
Baylor.
he's pretty good now.
Baylor had brought back. What was the situation? Did Gary? What was happening in 2021? Because
yeah, Gary played. He came back off that injury.
Yeah.
He had pretty poor numbers in that game. We mostly ran the ball, and Monterey scored on a big reverse or something, or a screen, a long touchdown. Walcott had the pick six. Their offense couldn't do anything against Petrie and Bernard and those dudes. So
I'll tell you one thing. I broke some news going to the 2019 Sugar Bowl that Charlie, was that Charlie? That came back and played in that and started in that game? It was.
He started, but he did not play much of that game.
Yeah. I broke some news, though, that he was returning to play in that game. And it was a very prominent coach who helped me out that leading into that game, who yes, I won't give any more than that, but it's very. Oh, Scotty, and let's keep this quick. Let's keep this quick because we were actually going to kind of ease into the new year. By the way, your New Year's Eve plans? Anything fun? Are you working?
I'm working.
Okay.
I will be serving champagne and tapas.
Are they fully booked? Is that going to be a pretty nice crowd over there?
Yeah, it's going to be a nuts night. I'm about to go get heavily caffeinated and ready to sprint.
Is there a chance? Was it one of those price fix deals? Will each person pay $75 to $100?
Nope. We're just doing regular dinner service an hour later than usual. Kitchen will close at 9:30, or kitchen normally closes at 9:30. Tonight we'll close at kitchen at 10:30. So I'm hoping most of my tables are out by 11:30, so I can maybe get a quick toast with some friends or something at midnight. But I may have tables till midnight. Who knows?
Could you make somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 tonight?
I doubt it, but if I do, I'll be very happy.
All right.
I joked with someone yesterday. I was like, I hope I have tables that are not wild, but are tipping. And my buddy was like, you'll probably have tables that are just both.
You know, Scotty, last thing we because you and I had talked. Yeah, that's funny. Now that I think about it, you want both. What do you? Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I want tables that aren't disruptive, but will tip me. And my buddy was like, you'll have tables that probably are disruptive and will tip you. I was like, okay.
Although that's a nice place, I don't feel like you're going to bring in a lot of disruptive.
I'm hoping not. We'll see. The good thing about sorry for all those who aren't in Waco, but the good thing about Red Herring is you go up the stairs and you've got Lucky Bucks upstairs, which is like the rooftop bar. So the people that want to go like get turned up or party or whatever, go upstairs. Go upstairs. If you want a nice fancy dinner, some wine, some champagne, that's where I'm like, come to me. Come see me.
Yeah. So you're right. Linger if you want to. And linger at your meal, but have plenty of champagne and keep ordering food to have a large bill, and then make sure you do your 20%. All right, I think all of that is fair. I did think something that I mentioned to you off air, Scotty, today, and we won't get too far into this because this is the landing. Let's call this the landing because this is the landing spot where we say goodbye to 2025. It is interesting, isn't it, that Joey McGuire, I read that huge story about Joey McGuire on ESPN.com, And he talked about how low he was that day in early 2020 when Mac Rhodes, or when that would have been after the game, after 2019 season. So it would have been, early 2020. And he got the call from Mac Rhodes that he had decided to go with Dave Aranda as coach. And I think, Joey thought that was it for him. And he had an opportunity to go somewhere else. I think Lincoln Riley tried to get him to come to, would have been OU at the time. And he stayed at Baylor with Dave Aranda. And then he ends up, and I think, Scotty, the big what if will be there. And again, would he have had the Cody Campbell money? No. Was Joey way more cut out for NIL, portal, glad handing, speeches in the off season, rallying the fan base more than Dave? Absolutely. Would Baylor have won the 2021 championship with Joey as the head coach? We will never know. We will never know. You'd like to think so, because he was a big, he was a defensive coach and the players loved him and all that kind of stuff, but we'll never know. We'll never know any of those things. So anyway, that's one of the big what ifs. But Scotty, I don't want to carve into what I was going to say. I just wanted to tell you, Scotty, and I'll still reserve the right to try to drag Scotty back on here, but Scotty, you are going to be leaving us soon. And I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate your investment, your friendship. You're doing so much for this show. I was just like completely bowled over by your ability to do graphics and the video and all the things that you were able to do. And I just function better with you. And I've never really, honestly, all my year, I've had great producers and great friends who were producers, but you were extremely talented and are very talented. And so I'll be very sad not to have you along with me, but I'll also, with great anticipation, watch, and I'm hoping to bear with me, the podcast and whatever you do with Baylor Media. But I just wanted you to know, how appreciative I am of what you've done and us getting to work together, and even the pregame, which was an enormous undertaking. And I know we had moments of chaos. Maybe we had moments where it really came together. There was a lot of craziness that went on, but I just loved the passion and the energy that you put into it. And that's why when things went wrong, I didn't react like I would have even 5 years ago. It's like, I just thought, again, and you were being asked to do some things that were foreign to you in terms of like having to work with a whole TV network and a TV station, and you jumped in and did a great job. So anyway, I am just extremely appreciative, and I am glad we had this opportunity. So I wish you a happy new year, and I wish you good luck in whatever's next.
Thanks, Matt. Well, dude, I've told you this off air, so I'll tell you on air. I was sneaking to the library. I vividly remember at China Spring High School, sneaking to the library so I could get on ESPN.com and read Matt Mosley covering the NFC East. Then I right after I graduated from Baylor, I very briefly had about an 8-month stint in living in Arlington, where I didn't drive home without turning on, Mosley on the radio. So, dude, I've been a fan for a long time. And then obviously when you came to Waco, I was checking in often. And so, dude, getting to work with you has been awesome. When you signed on with Rogue, I was like, let me at him, let me go, let me do it. So it's been a thrill for me. And yeah, dude, I'm not done. So we'll talk, we'll keep doing the Baylor football thing. And, I told Pete and I told Corey, and I'll tell you, for me, it's a, hey, let's see what else is going on. And then, down the road, who knows? I will never have I am too persistent to have my hands all the way out of talking about sports, covering Baylor football, etc. I care about it too much. So I'm looking forward to continuing the conversations.
Well, I appreciate it, and all our folks that you got to know over at Schmaltz's, and especially every doctor at Ascension Providence. I think they have you on the health plan over there now. I know you'll stay in touch with a lot of these folks, and always fun doing our shows over at the Brazos Landing. Those were fun, and so lots of good times. And I hope you'll continue to tune in, and I'll try to get you on from time to time. But thanks for everything, and I appreciate you, man. All right, it is the before I tear up, I wear these sunglasses to I walked in, Scotty, on some conversation today, and some folks were having like a deep. I just woken up, and there was this kind of emotional. It was a very nice conversation, but in typical Mosley form, did not want to be called upon to provide any introspection or information myself. So I tried to hide over in the kitchen and get my coffee. There was some, but anyway, Scotty's more open to, like, I think, deep conversations and opening up and making himself vulnerable much more than I would be. Okay, it is the Mosley Show with Scotty Swingler. We are signing off for 2025. We are so appreciative of all of you who've come to us via Twitter, YouTube, however you do it. And we'll be back on Monday, January 5th to react to a lot of this. Thanks for everybody who's been a part of this one. It is the Matt Mosley Show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.